I think there was a reason why. I was thinking about Jan at first, and then I was like, no. Alright, so here we're gonna start. Alright, this video is going to be a tutorial and tips and tricks for survivors in order to, hopefully, if people are out there struggling or want to get into the game, this will help. It'll also help people who aren't necessarily just new to the game, because I see a lot of high-rank players who put a lot of time into this game make a lot of the same mistakes or not know about certain little mechanics. And I'm going to try to run through a little bit and show off some of it in the simplest way that I can. So first off, practice mode. It exists. It's very useful for figuring out how certain mechanics work. It's also very good for figuring out how the maps work. So you can go into practice mode here. You get to pick a map. The challenge presets, as far as I know, they just... I don't even know what free play... I don't even know how some of these work. Like, easy is a very small number of zombies. I know some of the things are normal, and then I think you can use your presets. So, like, I could do one of my nasty ones that I have, if I could remember which one they are. We'll put it on normal, because I want some things. You can make it so you have extended time, so if you want to explore the map, you can use that. I mean, most of the stuff is pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to be using any of it, because I want to try to provide as clear examples as I can of how things work. So I'm going to start up. I made a Valerie build here that's designed just for credit efficiency, so there's nothing particularly special about it. It's just so I'm able to be a little more flexible with items. Because the tutorial, it takes you through, but it only teaches you, like, you have a personal skill, you have a fever skill, this is how certain things work, and it's like, that's all it is. It's not particularly great. It means a lot of people don't have map knowledge, which can really hurt.
Your presence here was not an outcome I
spawn area.
all these years ago.
Sometimes items can actually spawn in here.
It was all a mistake.
Learning the spawn points is a bit of a challenge, but if you play enough, you'll notice. So there will always be either Quick Draw Army or Matilda, Steel Bat or Torch. It alternates, and you'll get one grenade. It'll be randomized if it's a Molotov, a flash grenade, or a hand grenade. Now, the Quick Draw Army is good against creatures, and we're going to be finding, so we're just going to grab that. Everything else is pretty much how it always is. There's no other random aspects to it. As I said, the reason everything's green here is that the prices are lower due to me running items specifically to do that. So a lot of times there'll just be items sitting right around here. As you can see, I have the timer going with the low time.
There's gotta be something useful here.
So one thing I know some people don't know is that Valerie's personal skill increases damage. Damn it.
I need more ammo.
I wish I had gotten Matilda, actually. The Quick Draw Army is a lot harder to aim. It's so bad. And I can't edit, so all this crap stays in. That's Valerie's hilariously overpowered passive, where she randomly will get grenades that will drop for anybody. Items are not instanced, so if you pick something up, other people can't pick that same thing up. So again, one of the best ways to find things is grind your face against walls.
Healing spray loaded.
Like, full on.
Why do all the doors here have to be
Valerie
locked?
is the worst at knocking open doors. Tyrone is the best. Everyone else is the same.
Very nice.
Tyrone also, his kick also means that... You know, 5 seconds popped out, so I know it's dead. His kick also means that he doesn't burst through the door the way that other survivors do.
Your continued efforts only place humanity in greater danger.
So...
Now it will be easier.
Oh, there was a supply zombie. That's an audio cue. All the masterminds and survivors have various audio cues that allow them to allow you to figure out things like they're possessing a zombie, or there's a supply zombie, or the supply zombie has expired. And that was a supply zombie has expired. You'll get used to learning them pretty quick. Same thing with like item spawns. Like I know where like everything is. Or can be, I should say.
Please, reconsider. You don't have to activate
I did a lot of
it.
work, so you see I'm picking up umbrella credits. Umbrella credits spawn in 2 different styles, large and small bundles. The
I cannot sit
large
idly by
bundles
while you attempt to
are
use that.
larger in terms of numbers. There are 5 of them. There will always be 5. Which ones they are is randomized, though.
If
And
it's here,
then
I'll find it.
the small bundles... That's on the stairs. That's a really awkward spawn. The small bundles, however, there will be 7 of them, because there's always 12 credit bundles per area. The amount of credits scales up. This is why Valerie is terrible at opening doors. Ouch. Yeah, if you get hit from behind, it's an auto bite, no matter if someone's like right there to shoot it off. It'll always happen. The Tyrone can be very good.
Do not expect me to simply
Zombies will
watch
sometimes
you
randomly
escape.
drop
Somehow, that made me
certain
feel better.
things. Herbs and ammo. They always drop a little bit of ammo, basically if Becca's on the team with her passive. And they'll drop grenades with
Very well.
Valerie.
Let us continue.
Here we go. So, now 2 grenades are added in, but they're completely randomized what 2 they are. So in this case, I've just got 3 flash grenades as a purchasable item. Then you'll usually get... Oh, I don't actually know if it always spawns 1 in each of... No, because I think you can get the LE5. Basically, the MQ-11 and LE5 are the SMGs, and the W870 is the shotgun, or the Lightning Hawk will show up. And then the other one for the torch, so in this case the torch will show up, because the bat was there. But these are kind of the randomized weapons that are given. I want to get some yellow herbs, because Valerie has like the best lines for yellow herbs. But yeah, it's actually quite fixed. There's a little bit of that early game randomization, and then also the randomization that's caused by progressing, and it's a little hard at first because you end up with weapons you don't want. Actually, I might get to see a mechanic that I'm going to do.
Checking.
Nope. Double tap. Just gonna ignore a lot of stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm running around both to get items, but also because I don't remember this exact preset. Traps are walked into by a large number of the player base. And it's understandable when the lights are off that can kind of happen, but they're still quite clear. So this section you're looking for Yorick.
If it's here, I'll find it.
Doesn't look like he's here, but we'll check. There's a fixed number of spawn locations. This is the map. The map shows you a lot of useful information. It'll show you where all your teammates are.
Umbrella is
Now that
highly
I've touched that-
partial to locked doors.
There. You'll see that it's now on the map. So, since I've interacted with it, it shows up, and it will show up for everyone, not just me. There's
I
York.
might be able to see something.
This is York.
It might take more
Alright,
time
so
to
because I got
find
close,
it.
or if you aim, that blue icon will appear above his head. We're actually going to get down. I'm going to try to get to under a minute. Oh no, it won't show it because of... So, this icon will show
Take
up
its security
regardless
card if you
of
must. I still
where he
have
is or if
time to
anyone's
stop
found
you.
him if you're at under a minute. So see, I marked that terminal. It shows up in blue. This will also show up if you're under a minute. Once it's under a minute, all the terminals, if those are the objectives, will be lit up, and you'll be able to see them. But I'm not, so
This
Won't
is
get yours
only
off. That's
the
a
first
mechanic that I
step.
notice a lot of players don't realize is there, and it takes a while to know it because the game never tells you that that happens. You just kind of have to realize it. There are audio cues, so for instance, finding Yorick and killing him. Oop, too late on that. Finding Yorick and killing him results in an audio cue, each of them. There'll usually be audio cues for
Let's have a
completing
closer
terminals, but those are less relevant because as you can see right under the timer it shows how many terminals have been
You've
done,
unlocked the
etc.
second device, but you are still far from safety.
See, she comments on that being a second device. For instance, there's a, and Daniel has one that's like who has 2 thumbs and does not give a fuck that you've done 2 terminals.
Holy fucking shit, the doors
The more
open!
you
Let's
succeed, the better the data will be at your end.
go. There's gotta be something useful here.
So yeah, the under the minute trick is useful, especially in area 2, because you have multiple objectives that you'll need to find, and they're usually behind a lot of doors and stuff like that. Alright, it's gonna advance. Another thing is if it's in overtime, if you've completed the objectives and you're standing on this, you will get time. So the number of survivors at the exit, if one person's dead and you're gonna hit overtime, stand on the exit. It will go through as long as you're not being interrupted, which means grabbed
I
in
am
certain
surprised
animations,
you
like
have
you're
come
stuck in a
this
leg hold
far.
trap.
I shall revise my strategy.
As long as you aren't in those positions, you will be good. And so another grenade... Actually, 2 grenades were added. Okay. Always forget how many grenades get added each area. And now everything will be unlocked and available for a purchase. Now, Area 3... Lickers are actually blind, so if you actually walk and you don't make noise, you... Where'd that grenade go? Okay. Oh, it's a headshot too. Wow. It's pretty rare, just because Lickers are some of the only things that are on the ground like that you could headshot. I don't think this will work at range. Yeah. So I can see the core. Going this way just to kill him, because memorizing maps and stuff is something that will just come like as you play the game. Oh wow, he went real fast. So in this case I'm also saving up my ability specifically on Valerie, because it also increases damage to cores. Normally you end up with a lot more time because the mastermind spawns things, and those things are worth time. Let's see, can I do it from here? Yes. So if you aim with a gun, you can sometimes do it with melee at an objective. Just like I mentioned before, you can highlight it. I'm glad I was able to show that off, because it's something people don't do. Oh, I guess because I spawned a trap.
There's gotta be something useful here.
Too close for my liking.
So now that it's under a minute, music will start. The sad thing is this will give me 30 seconds, so we'll have to still go and manually find the core.
A minor victory will do nothing to stop my advance.
Okay, actually, might get lucky. 3, 2, 1. There. See? Little key pops up.
Do that again. Let's have a closer look.
Also, the marking will show up on the map. See there, my scan went off, so I dropped from 1,000 to 800.
How did you even get this far?
We have to run. And again, because we're at the under minute mark, it marks it for me. I'm actually really glad I was able to show that off. I wasn't sure if I would, because it's a very useful thing in Area 2, because the Area 2 areas are typically, there's a lot of doors, they're very labyrinthine, and so finding where an objective is very useful. I'd like to do supply zombies, but I'm not going to have enough time. That was part of why I didn't turn on extended time. I don't know if I'm actually going to make this.
How have you got
Supply
so
zombies can add a lot of time. Again, supply zombies function on the same principles as objectives. You can aim at them and highlight them.
This will be over soon.
So again, that was the supply zombie dying from the time. Yeah, okay, I'll be fine now. Now once you do this, the emergency override thing, that means that the mastermind basically gets like constant bioenergy. So they'll start spamming things, which is generally why you want to hang out around here, because if you're very far away, you're going to end up potentially with a lot of stuff in the way. But you don't always need to. You can go away. There's a lot of cameras here. There's actually 3 that can see this location. Then once you're in, same rules apply. You have to be not in animations, and everyone has to be there. So if someone's down, or if they've been grabbed, you have to get them out of that grab animation if they're in a goo shot.
This is unacceptable. You will doom millions.
Go into a different map. But I'll turn on extended time now. Do the new map. Let's see what free play is. Because I don't know what this actually means. Maybe that there's no zombies or traps. It took about as long as I thought it actually would, though. I wish I could set up mastermind presets to go against, like not preset maps, but preset masterminds, so I could talk about, say, Spencer, and how he works. But the UI is very useful. It gives a lot of information.
At 32.3333%. Repeating, of course.
Which is very different.
What are you doing this to us?
It's very different than it. Same. Fine. Very different to like a game like Dead by Daylight, where information is such a valuable commodity. So one thing with Spencer is
Activating that will take
pay attention
both
to
your time
which
and energy.
puzzle it is. So in this case, it's a Gauss statue. Spencer puts up fake puzzle pieces, but they'll be for other puzzle types that you can find. So with Spencer, you don't necessarily... You can actually figure out if something's a fake just from seeing it, if you know what the... I believe there are 3 variations of each puzzle for each map.
I cannot sit idly by while you attempt to use that.
So now because I have it, it'll also lead me to where the puzzle piece location to deposit it is. Now I've played before. This can get very confusing for a lot of people. So I pulled up the map here. Especially in Area 2. But the map gives you lots of info. I have no idea what this preset is, so I've got to just guess. from what I remember, of where all of the potential... Like I said, a quick way of finding items, grind your face up against walls. I'm guessing this is there's nothing spawned in the game, is what free play is. This is one of the locations. I think there can be one like sitting right around here. It's a bit of a bummer. I figured that was kind of it, but...
Your continued efforts only place humanity in greater danger.
Healing spray loaded.
So yeah, survivors give audio cues for when they have their fever skills activated, so you don't necessarily need to be in a pre-made to figure out that, oh, someone has it. There's also, you'll notice, it'll say next to my name, up next to my character photo up there, that I have a fever skill ready. Since the other one must be in here. Yep.
Even should you proceed, I will stop you yet.
The map gives a lot of info for you.
We open the exit.
So many of you are still alive.
And people just, they don't really use the map a lot. This is actually where I saw a very high-level Valerie take off in the wrong direction. They're just under, they had like a minute 10 loading into Area 2 here.
You may be
Yorick
slightly nearer to
spawned
freedom, but I
in
will
the
not.
room, if you look there where the supply
Cannot
box is
let
ahead of
you
me,
reach
it's
it.
to the room to the left. And she ran to the right. I mean, Yorick has to be here because you have to kill him. So you might be, I guess, the only thing?
Let's have a closer look.
Items that get, yeah, it was in this room. Items that get highlighted in blue by Valerie's scan are objectives. Anything highlighted in white, or, well, I guess I should say light blue versus dark blue? Well, the fact that nothing's in this environment and I heard...
Very well.
Yeah.
You have found it. Do what you must.
It's like, since I heard a zombie and there's no zombies in this entire
If it's
game.
here, I'll find it.
So see how he's got that dark blue outline?
It's key,
And so
but
does the
virus
terminal that's
will
right
still
there.
be eating you from within.
That's the objective marker for Valerie. These also show up when you've been flashed by the blinding flash. Supply zombie item that masterminds can get. But Valerie's very good for that.
I must ensure the others are not so accessible.
Yeah. Try to remember all the potential spawn spots for terminals. Oh. That also means the supply zombie has to be near me. May have spawned like right behind me. Yeah, I figured this was a terminal. Good, I can do supply zombies now. They have a bit more health than regular zombies, even though they use regular zombie skins.
Super.
Do you
So-
think that will be enough to overcome me?
This is actually a
I
very
will not
low
allow
reward
it.
one. You can typically get up to 2 special weapons and multiple sprays, first aid, infection, and enhancing sprays. So just getting 10 ammo and a rocket launcher is actually very
You are
low
lost
for
the second device,
a supply
but
zombie
you are
spawn.
still far from safety.
It's also a good idea too, even since I think it's going to be right here, yeah. Since I'm doing the terminals and I've got a lot of time, I can sort of show it off, but typically if
We can get out.
The more
if you have a chance,
succeed,
it's
the
useful
better the
to
data will be
also
at
make
your
sure that you
end.
grab everything. Resources are very important. There's items to make more resources, which is what I'm using. So I get more credits when I pick them up, and things are cheaper in the shop. Simply using them just to make things easier. But they're very useful. And picking up stuff, if you have extra inventory, Martin and Valerie by default have, I was gonna grab the ammo, have more inventory than normal. I also put on an item that adds an inventory spot. If you have extra inventory, grab repair kits and drop them if you've got someone that's using melee. That's 100 credits worth of items that you might just be leaving there.
To your demise.
Okay, got a quick set the rocket launcher. If you assign, so if you use a first aid spray from your inventory, you use it where you're standing. If you assign it, you can do it while moving, which can allow you to pick up your allies from the ground. You can still do it while not moving, but it means you pretty much have to be standing directly on them. This is a core condom. Core shields, I think, is the official thing, but they're only on the prison map. The Mastermind can raise them up using EAS, but there's a cooldown on it. And while it's being raised up, if you still have a clear line of sight, you can actually continue to shoot.
You will not destroy them all.
So, as you see, the cores are still all white, but let's see. I need probably... Windows sometimes block line of sight for no real reason. Now that it's highlighted, it shows red. The map gives a lot of information. Actually, I should just
for healing. Give me a second.
There.
There's gotta be something useful.
Another thing to keep in mind, if you use explosives, they stagger you. They don't do damage, but they will stagger you and your teammates, which can sometimes potentially get someone killed because it will interrupt animations such as reviving.
No more ammo.
That's a line that masterminds can hear. Some lines they aren't able to hear, I think.
This will be over soon.
So that means the supply zombie has been blown up and she has the effect for it.
You will need to do more to escape.
Prison's actually randomized down here in the bottom. Which is really, like, the cores are always in the core spots, but how and if you can navigate through is actually randomized. So yeah, this time I don't believe there is any route through. Yeah, because a lot of times there's a route here, and it's not.
Healing spray ready when
That's
we
a
need it.
weird one that I had not realized, and that's why the map looks kind of funny in this area. There's a giant black when it's not there.
Everyone feeling better?
So fever skill
Need time to
activated.
clear my head.
And masterminds can also see that. But they'll hear audio. One of the nice things about practice mode is that it can give you a chance to run through and learn map layouts. You don't necessarily need to do it for everyone, but I would almost recommend just booting up Mastermind and going into practice mode, because you can then just see it. No, she didn't say any lines. That's a bummer.
I might be able to see something.
Yellow herbs reduce damage and increase damage dealt. You can see there next to the infection, which is the biohazard symbol of fine. There's a little herb symbol, and it's slowly ticking down.
Ammo.
That is because that's the duration on the yellow herb. Ah, I knew I was gonna run out of ammo.
There's gotta be something useful here.
Oh. Although, now that I think about it, I don't know how I would kill the supply zombie.
I've got a healing spray ready.
I didn't think this was possible.
So if you see
Healing over here.
fever skill activated,
Can't do that yet.
all of one bullet. I can kind of hear the zombie somewhere. Yeah. It's like, I think there's a zombie spawn up there. So
the
there.
advantage.
You can see it pop
Now
away.
it's sealed.
And she says a line. There's a number of different lines. There's always 2 cameras at every exit door. An important thing to sometimes figure out is blind spots. So, if you can get into blind spots, there's also, this is another good one. I can actually do this as an example. So you can peek using third person and hit cameras, but the cameras cannot see you. You can do this sometimes with open doors, depending on the map and the camera position, just walls, bookcases. It's very, very useful.
Look, the exit is open.
She's not saying any of the lines for the yellow herb, that's a bummer. Anyway, I think that's it. If I could edit, I would probably record more if I think of other really good tricks.
The secrets
But-
you have seen must never be revealed.
The big thing to remember is that the UI has a lot of information for players to utilize. Especially when it comes to objectives, which is why I like touching an objective so that it gets marked on the map is very useful. You can see it through walls at any distance. The map is your friend. Use it. People don't. There are blind spots for cameras. You'll sort of get a handle on masterminds, like a lot of Alexes are tending to run infection and traps. So it's generally a good idea to sometimes grab a blue herb at the start of a match against an Alex. Nikolai's almost always have tons of camera damage, so you need a lot of green herbs. And if you're playing melee, it's good to readjust from melee to guns. It's hard because you always start with 250 credits without items. And Matilda, which is much better against cameras than the Quick Draw Army because it's much more accurate, costs 220. A single stack of the small bundles of ammo, or 30. That's all your money. So it is very hard to switch from melee to guns or guns to melee. You should do it if it's advantageous, like you can really get a lot out of it if you have a build for it, or if you have a pretty good idea. So a lot of times a Sam or a Tyrone who start off as melee will switch to, if they see that it's basically just a gun only Nikolai. By area 2 they'll probably, good ones will have a Matilda. Some will also grab the Mups that a lot of the girls in Martin drop, because most people clear them out of their inventory, and that's also a really good idea. It's 16 shots that you can be used on a camera versus the 0 shots that your 2x4 can do to a camera. And you're probably not going to use a lot of inventory space. So what you buy is kind of based on the masterminds. Flash grenades are very, very good against, well, pretty much any creature build, but especially against Daniels, because the flash stun goes for a very long amount of time. Special weapons are like that too. The spark shot is very good against not hordes, but controlled zombies, taking out specific things. It does a lot of damage, but it can only fire one target at a time, and it needs a little time to go off, and it only has 7 shots. The grenade launcher is a little bit, with the acid rounds, like it instantly kills lickers. It's a little better for hitting multiple targets. It does a dot damage over time from the acid burn. Rocket launchers are good for like clearing out a quick room or a bundle. They're best used with Becca because she can get unlimited rocket launcher using her ultimate Sir Fever skill right now, for the time being. It's probably something that Neobards, the developers, are watching. So that's kind of it. It seems like a lot of this stuff is common sense, and for a lot of veteran players it is, but a lot probably aren't, like they haven't figured out where all the items spawns are, or because I run by and I see people not picking up items all the time, and that's not good. You want to be hoovering up everything, but you also want to pay attention. So like, sometimes with good teammates, you'll get to Area 3, they'll drop their repair kits that they've picked up, like say a Valerie, on the ground so that you as a melee character can pick them up. A lot of people will kill especially melee characters will kill supply zombies, and if there's a Becca and they got something other than a spark shot, they'll leave it in the area, the spawn zone, where it's safe. And sadly some Beccas are oblivious to this. Like if there is a supply zombie that gets killed, because there's also an audio line that they will say when it happens, so you'll know no matter where you are on the map, and you're like a Becca, and there's a decent chance when you get to the next area you should look around to see if someone drops an item. They don't always, but it's a more optimal play style a lot of times to give a Becca a weapon because she gets unlimited ammo with it and doesn't have to reload for the duration of her fever skill. It's very strong in Becca to have specials. Won't always happen, but it does, so you should take a look. Most people use an enhancing spray at an item box, especially in Area 3. Infection treatment sprays, so you should always kind of wait and see what people are doing. She'll sometimes waste them. And it seems like, oh, you're like, oh, this is all really common sense stuff, touch objectives, but it's like, you would be surprised what happens. There's a timer running. You're going against an actual player who's spawning creatures, maybe even controlling them and putting pressure on you. Your teammates are doing who knows what. People overlook things. People rush, they step in traps because they're not looking at the floor. Typically, most players should kind of look in the middle to floor area, and you should try to listen because you can tell a lot. There's a lot of audio cues. There's a specific sound when zombies are being possessed, and then the music changes. Music changes for BOWs being put into place. You can tell if it's been canceled by the mastermind somewhere else in the area because the music will change. They have audio lines to indicate things. You can listen and hear zombies spawn in like I did with York. When I was in that room, I could hear a zombie noise. I'm like, well, there's no zombies in this preset, so he's got to be right around here. You can hear the enhancers going off. You can see you can see infection auras through walls if the zombies are pressed up against them, and especially through doors. The walls have to be fairly thin to see it through the walls, but it can happen. So there's all this environmental information that you just kind of have to learn is there, and then once you know it's there, you can utilize it. And because you'd be surprised, there's a lot of other things that I can't demonstrate, but I should talk about. Don't move while you're down if someone's coming to revive you. Basically, if you're down and someone's trying to manually revive you, they have to press and hold a button. When they move towards you, they'll get the prompt as soon as they enter that box, and they'll go into an animation. However, if you are moving, you can go outside. You can basically move in a way that breaks the little tiny connection they managed to make at the edge of the box, which will knock them out of the animation and stand up. Then they'll have to do it again. So you want to stop moving if someone's about to revive you. If someone starts getting close, stop moving. A lot of times I get players who go down, and then even though they go down near someone, they'll wiggle and they'll move, and it interrupts it, and then you get stuck in this animation going back and forth, and the timer's just going down, and they become open. I run a Tyrone that has very fast pickups, manual pickups. The fact is that, so when someone doesn't do that, the window where I can just get them up before something happens, I have that window because it's very fast. But when I have to go through a couple of the animations because someone's wiggling on the floor, it doesn't work. The game will forcibly stop you, I believe, but only if the animation has gone far enough in. You can also have this, it also hurts in lag because it takes a while to register it, and if you're moving, the clients are not going to communicate properly. So you just, crawling to get into a better position is good. You should try to remember that if you can crawl and get clear or mostly clear of a door, your teammates can shut that door. If you're in a doorway and the door is open and you're looking at an open door, if they try to shut it, which they sometimes can't, it'll just shut you and push you back in. So understand, you can also crawl backwards. Not actually backwards, you have to crawl in a circle. A lot of people won't do this. They'll go down, and then because they need to go straight back because they probably went down through a door, they just sit there. But you can actually begin crawling in a circle and crawl out. This is very useful, especially against guns. Crawling into a safe location where someone can pick you up behind cover is really important, because a gun, any hit on a survivor will interrupt the animations, any at all. So even a single bullet that grazes you, boom, have to restart the animation. It knocks you out faster. You don't go through the awkward, but it'll knock you out. So understanding how to move when you go down and when to move, when not to move, is spray plays not work. People spray, but because it does it in intervals, they sometimes don't hit everyone because they're moving a little too fast and they miss sort of an interval location, or the spray doesn't quite cover them. The visual effects linger a little longer, so like after someone uses an enhancing spray, you'll see the yellow. But if you run in, even when it's kind of gone, if you run in, you'll see the particles on you. Same thing with infection treatment, same thing with first aid. But the game provides a lot of information, and a lot of survivors just don't know how to utilize it. There are a lot of people who do build guides, Swing, Sinnoh. There's plenty of others out there for survivors or masterminds. Some survivors are a lot easier to build for, others aren't. Because they don't naturally have, like, kind of a synergy with their strengths and the gear items, although there's a lot of really good just general gear items. But a lot of people out there have YouTube videos with build guides for masterminds and survivors, so if you want to get into more specifics, those are good, although they can get outdated very easy. Like, there's Valerie Moldov guides out there that are no longer accurate because she no longer gets infinite grenades with that passive. She's restricted to 4 of each kind per match, which you can buy starting at the beginning. So, you know, guides change, and you can't go in and edit and add in something in the video later to be like, oh, update, this doesn't work anymore. I mean, like, I think you can maybe add annotations and, like, little things, but, like, they can't go and constantly remove and change videos. Like, Sinnoh got complaints in, I think, a Mastermind video for not using some gear that didn't exist when he made the video a month earlier. It's like, yeah, of course he didn't use this gear. That is definitely better. It didn't exist. It was not in the game. So, that happens. The patch notes are available. I'll put them in the description of the video. I know Sinnoh is in my featured on this channel, so if you somehow find this video and you go to the channel, you can go right to Sinnoh's. But I'll put up a patch notes link. It's just always a link, and then it gets updated with new patch notes. RENet is kind of fun if you're into, like, keeping track of stats, but you're also not really serious about it because sometimes you want to experiment or something. RENet can be useful. It can also tell you a little bit about the people you play with sometimes, even here on Xbox. If they have an RENet account and you look on it and you're like, oh, they have a terrible escape rate and they constantly play this one character, they probably weren't carrying their weight in the game I played with them. Or if you go up against a mastermind, like they never play Survivor, and you encounter, like, a lot of toxic behavior, like, well, this is someone who clearly is a bit antisocial and doesn't like other people and doesn't play well with others. You can learn a lot. The RENet, you don't have to. There's no benefit to it at all. It's more of just for personal stats, weird record keeping. Most of it is largely irrelevant unless you play a lot, because the game changes, characters' strengths and weaknesses grow. Your survivor play can very much be different depending on, you know, who you're playing with. if you're playing with randoms. So, description will be in, for the link will be in the description, and yeah, I stream on Twitch Fridays through Tuesday, Friday through Monday evening, Saturday and Tuesday afternoons, U.S. Central Standard Time. I play Resistance. I also do a little bit of other stuff. So if you watched this and actually got to the end, congrats. I hope you learned at least something or got to see something. If you're interested in the game, you have to buy it with our Resident Evil 3. Hopefully that changes and Capcom stops being dicks about it. The game's worth picking up if they sell it separately. I'm just going to say that. PC has a little bit of problems. Xbox is better. PlayStation 4 is a real big player base. But yeah, you want to look into it. If you're a fan of asymmetrical games, if you're a fan of Resident Evil, it's actually quite good. The balance is very... The team that's doing it is very good at trying to balance something that is very difficult to balance. They sometimes do introduce things that really throw off the balance, but usually we get a patch in a week or two to help fix that. So thanks for watching. I will post other matches, but the best way to see more of my content isn't actually here on YouTube. It will be on Twitch, where I stream. And literally this video is part of a stream that I'm just going to clip out and upload. So, thanks.